Welcome to the Hoja on Architecture podcast, Season 3, Climate Responsive Architecture, Chapter 1, The Introduction. Regrettably, we are currently experiencing the most consumptive and polluting era in the history of civilization. Consequently, humanity today faces global challenges of a diversity and magnitude never encountered by our ancestors. Global warming, the depletion of natural resources, rising sea levels, environmental pollution, uncontrolled deforestation, the mismanagement of waste, carbon emissions, high dependency on non-renewable energy sources, and the disruption of natural cycles caused by species extinction are among the principal manifestations of these problems. Collectively, these may be subsumed under the term climate crisis. Whether future generations will confront these same issues, or entirely new global challenges of which we are not yet even aware, depends entirely on the choices made by our present civilization. Every act of conscious neglect, or conversely, every precautionary measure taken today, has direct implications for the future of the planet. According to authoritative reports, one of the principal contributors to the climate crisis is the construction sector, namely, the architecture. The production and transportation of building materials, construction processes, the heating, cooling, and lighting of spaces during their life cycle, and the eventual demolition of buildings at the end of their lifespan are, for the most part, conducted in ways that cannot be considered sustainable. This reality places architecture at the forefront of responsibility for the climate crisis. It is beyond doubt that an urgent rethinking of construction practices is required. Nevertheless, not all architectural activity across the globe has assumed such an irresponsible form. Vernacular, or architecture without architects, which constitutes the vast majority of the world's built environment, contains invaluable lessons for contemporary practice, particularly in its passive climate control strategies. Numerous studies have demonstrated, through empirical measurement, that the climatic performance of vernacular architecture often surpasses that of formal architect-designed structures. By integrating the lessons to be derived from vernacular traditions into a renewed design ethos, one that may be described as an urban vernacular, architecture could reduce its share of responsibility in the climate crisis. Building upon these realities, this study first sought, through a review of the literature, to clarify the role of architecture in the climate crisis. It then identified climate-responsive design variables embedded in vernacular structures, and finally, proposed a new design framework for formal architecture informed by vernacular teachings. Furthermore, the climate crisis compels a reassessment of the ethical responsibilities of architects and planners. Beyond mere technical proficiency, architectural practice must be situated within a broader ecological and cultural framework that acknowledges its role in shaping environmental futures. The prioritization of short-term economic gain and aesthetic novelty over long-term ecological resilience has proven unsustainable. Instead, there is a need for design approaches that place environmental stewardship, cultural continuity, and intergenerational justice at their core. This requires not only technical innovation, but also a critical reevaluation of the values that underpin architectural production. Equally significant is the recognition that solutions cannot be homogeneous or universally imposed. Climatic conditions, cultural practices, and available resources differ markedly across regions, and thus architectural responses must remain context-specific. Vernacular traditions exemplify this sensitivity, demonstrating how communities historically devised adaptive solutions that integrated ecological, material, and cultural dimensions. Reviving such approaches in contemporary architecture does not imply a return to the past in a nostalgic sense, but rather the critical reinterpretation of enduring principles for present challenges. In this respect, the climate crisis may be seen not only as a threat, but also as a catalyst for reimagining architecture as a discipline of resilience, continuity, and ecological intelligence. This is the end of the Climate Responsive Architecture, Chapter 1, The Introduction. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.